In this video, we're going to be looking at the main benefits of using sage leaf for menopause, as well as how to incorporate it into your diet. But before we dive in, hello and welcome. My name is Jermaine. I am an integrative nutrition health coach and a yoga teacher who helps women to balance their hormones naturally and confidently. So today we're talking about sage. Now this is the same sage that we use for cooking. Okay, so it has a variety of medicinal benefits, and we're going to talk about the four main ones when it comes specifically to perimenopause and menopause. So the first thing is that historically, sage has been used as a natural remedy for both hot flashes and night sweats. Okay, and the reason for this is because sage is classified as an astringent herb, and what that means is that it helps to stabilize bodily fluids, including sweat. In fact, I did some research around this and found that in Germany, sage is actually a government-approved treatment for hyperhidrosis. Now, hyperhidrosis is simply the medical term for excessive sweating. So here we're talking about excessive sweating that would require, going to see a doctor. Okay, in Germany, sage actually is approved treatment for that condition. Okay, now when it comes to modern research, I was able to find one study. So this was a Swiss study that was done with 71 women, and in that group of 71 women, they recruited only women that were having at least 5 hot flashes per day, and they were all given one sage capsule every day for 8 weeks. So overall, the study showed that taking sage can actually reduce the mean number of mild hot flashes by 46%. It reduces the moderate hot flashes by 62%. Severe hot flashes had a 79% decrease, and very severe hot flashes had a 100% decrease. Okay, so that is the first interesting benefit of using sage if you're in perimenopause or menopause, right? Now, the second benefit is that sage contains vitamin K. Now, vitamin K here is essential both for supporting bone health and also for blood clotting. Now, blood clotting comes into play when we're talking about heavy periods. So during perimenopause, a lot of women will experience a lot more bleeding during their cycle. Okay, and according to some medical papers that I've read, one of the contributing factors for heavy periods can be basically a deficiency in vitamin K, because vitamin K is a must-have nutrient for blood clotting. So if you're having issues with blood clotting on any level, one of the first places you would look would be vitamin K deficiency, and sage happens to be a natural source of that nutrient. So 1 teaspoon of ground sage gives you approximately 10% of the recommended daily intake for vitamin K. Another benefit of using sage is that it has the ability to regulate blood sugar levels and also to help with insulin sensitivity. Okay, so in humans, there has been a study that was done showing that sage extracts can help with both of those things. And in addition, there was also a study done with mice showing that sage tea can actually be as effective as the diabetes drug known as metformin. All right, so that is pretty impressive from that perspective. Now, this matters again when you're going through menopause, simply because weight gain, so either weight gain or difficulty losing weight, is very, very common during this transition phase. All right, so and one of the main things that tends to contribute to weight problems is insulin, right? There's really no getting around it. Insulin is a major determining factor of how easily the body puts on weight and holds on to that weight. So using an herb like sage can potentially be helpful to basically balance out your insulin levels. Now, the fourth benefit of sage leaf is that it has estrogen-like properties. Okay, so sage actually has some phytoestrogens in it, and according to one study that was done with postmenopausal women, sage has the ability to increase levels of estradiol. All right, so again, if you are having difficulties when it comes to your estrogen levels and maybe they are currently too low, for example, then sage could be another herb that you want to consider. Now, those are the main benefits, but that's not all there is to sage. All right, so really quickly, some of the other benefits of taking sage is that it helps with memory. It can also boost your mood. It is a natural anti-inflammatory, and last but not least, it can also have a sedative effect, which means if you're having difficulty sleeping, you might want to consider taking sage. I even noticed this going through comments on some other videos here on YouTube. I saw comments from other women saying that sage actually helped them get the best sleep of their life during this transitory phase. So again, just something else that you might want to consider when it comes to adding this into your lifestyle, right? Now, when it comes to how to use sage, there are two main options. So you could either take it in the form of a tea or in the form of capsules. Now, if you're making a tea, just follow the standard guidelines for making an herbal tea. So here you want 1 teaspoon of dried sage leaf to 1 cup of boiling water, and you can let that sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you want a stronger tea, you could let it sit longer, and you could also increase the amount of herb that you use for every cup of water. Okay, now the second option is to take in the form of capsules. Now here there is not like a perfect dosage, because again, this is a herbal remedy, and herbal remedies, the amounts that you need tend to change from person to person and based on their goals and their current health status. All right, so but in doing some research, I did come across information from Dr. Lodog. So Dr. Lodog is one of the most recognized, I think, herbalists that we have around us here in the US, and she has a lot of very good and reliable information when it comes to herbs. And on her website, she suggests taking 1,000 milligram capsules for excessive sweating. So that's her recommendation. So you could use that 1,000 milligrams as a guideline and as a starting point. Now, I will include a link to her blog as well, because she is definitely just a good resource and somebody to be aware of if you are curious and interested in natural living options. Before we wrap up, it's important to keep these two things in mind when it comes to sage. So the first thing is that, as I mentioned before, it has the ability to regulate blood sugar. So if you are taking any other drugs or any other herbs that have an effect on your blood sugar level, you want to make sure to check in with your doctor before you add sage into the mix. All right. And then the other thing is, again, as I said before, it can have a sedative effect on some people. So if you're using any other drugs or any other herbs for sleep or anything that has basically drowsiness as a side effect, you want to also be mindful, check in with your doctor before you start combining all of that with sage. All right, so with that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope that you found this information helpful, and if you did, be sure to share this with anybody else that would benefit from it, and of course, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.